As I said last week, as we're working through Lent, you're inching closer and closer towards Passover, a holiday important to the Israelites because they were in captivity in slavery in Egypt. And God came and rescued them, brought them out of that country, and helped them establish a new country. Now, that's an important day. And that's an important meal for that day. Think about when you get together for Thanksgiving. When do you get together? Do you get together for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, July 4th? You know, whenever that is, this is an important day, and people are sitting down to eat with one another. Jesus is sitting down to eat with other people for nearly the last time. Now, this is what I would have you consider. I want you to look to the next person. It's going to be scary, but you can do it. It would be scary to me if I was out there, but fortunately I'm up here. People you would want to eat dinner with, dead or alive in all of history. 5 people that you might want to eat dinner with. I want you to you don't have to name all 5, but consider a person that I would want to have dinner with this person and be able to talk to them. I want you to consider that amongst yourselves. If I'd asked Mary Ellen previously, I'd get her to do Jeopardy, but we don't have the Jeopardy theme music. Just consider that amongst yourselves and whisper it to the next person. They're not scary. Now, there are a certain few in every group that are willing to stand up in front of everyone and say something. Those select few are out there. I could name them if I had to. Someone stand up and tell me a name. Anybody can tell me a name.
I'd like to meet
Daniel's
Daniel's great-grandmother. She's not with us anymore.
great-grandmother?
She had to stay up.
Nice. Oprah Winfrey? George Washington would be cool. Who else? Billy Graham. Might be good. Abraham Lincoln. I cannot believe you have not weighed in. Who? Yeah, that's good. Twee's parents. Anybody else? That's pretty good list. I bet I can guess of those names that were whispered of some of the categories. People of great wisdom, people of great love, people of great experience, people of great achievements, people of mystery. You know, I really would like to ask what happened that day so that I could know for myself. Now, take that notion and take it to a slightly higher level and consider the last people you would eat with today. If you knew this was your last meal, they're here today in this community, you would want to eat with them. It's a very different list because it's the last meal you're ever going to have, and it's people who are actually here. Now, as you can tell from our reading, Jesus and his disciples are having either the last or next to last, it's the Last Supper, meaningful meal together. And did Jesus choose people of great wisdom, great love, great experience, great achievements? Well, sometimes. But in many, many, many cases, the disciples struggled to listen and comprehend. They fought over who was the greatest among them. In many cases, they were quick to act and slow to think and believe. You know anybody like that? Anybody in your household like that? Anybody on your row like that? Anybody inside your jacket like that? Does this sound like anyone you know? Of course it does. Let's look and listen. Let's look at Peter. This is harsh. And if somebody did this to me, you could come up with any number of things. He did some great things. We're noticing this thing. Always talks first. Always volunteers first. Always knows everything. Y'all know anybody like that? Do you see him at Thanksgiving? And do you see him at Christmas? Are they at the table and you think, oh, I'm going to say that I'm going to do this with my car insurance, and he's going to say, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Don't do that. This is what you need to do, right? Okay, let's look at this scripture passage. From that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, chief priests, and teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and on the third day be raised to life. Jesus said this. Peter took Jesus aside and began to rebuke Jesus. Never, Lord, he said, this shall never, ever happen to you. Now, this is the type of person that struggles to listen and comprehend. This is the type of person that, in many cases, is quick to act, slow to think. This is the type of person that you might be a little leery of sharing a meal with on a regular basis, much less your very last meal. How about Matthew? Let's look at Matthew next. Matthew was a tax collector, and by definition, takes a larger piece than he has to, ignores what's fair for his own gain. Let's look at the scripture passage. As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. Follow me, he told him. Matthew got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? Do you know anybody that takes more than they should in your family for their own gain, whether it be what you watch, what you hear, what you eat, what you discuss? I'm just going to take it, and y'all can deal with the rest. Now, this is prior to Jesus' interaction with him, but this is the way Matthew is. Let's look at one last one, and everybody knows this one. Judas. Judas will trade you for a couple of shiny coins. That really is a pretty honest assessment. That's, in many cases, that's what he did. Let's look at the scripture passage. Then Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went to the chief priests to betray Jesus to them. They were delighted to hear this and promised to give him money. So he watched for an opportunity to hand him over. These are just a couple of types of people with which you would not want to share your last meal, your last chance at the dinner table. You want to share it with someone that overwhelms you with advice, someone that takes more than they should for their own gain, and someone that will trade you straight up for a bunch of shiny coins. Yet that is who Jesus picked to eat his last meal with. Now, when we're going down this path, Jesus would have us consider the very next image, which I think is perfect. This comes from a scripture passage. You've got a doctor here trying to get the speck. You see the speck in the right eye of the patient. He says, let me take that speck out of your eye. This is Jesus speaking to his people. This is an illustration of Jesus speaking to his people. He says, look, don't worry about the speck in the other person's eye when you've got a plank in your own eye. Now that image really kind of brings it home, doesn't it? Consider us all doctors with planks in our eyes looking at the specks in the other person's eye. Now, why do we do that? Well, everything's from my perspective. Everything's from the understanding of this little 4 square foot area. And if y'all don't get it, then you need to get with the program. Y'all are the people that don't understand. I'm the one that understands. That is a plank mentality, looking at someone else and saying, this is what's wrong about that person.